What's up, Giants? Welcome to Wake Up with Giants. I'm Nick Smith. We got a great show for you tonight. We're going to be talking about how to manage post-success depression. So hang tight. We'll be right back. Back, Giants. So we got a great show tonight with an expert panel, and we're going to dive into a topic that to me is really interesting because it's something you wouldn't think would happen. It's called post-success depression, and we'll talk into the psychology of it, the emotion of it, the societal dimensions of it. I mean, we'll explore every facet that we can of this topic. But before we dive into that, we want to go around the room and introduce our guest panelists, and we'll start at the top of the screen here with Kellen Flukiger. And Bill, you're welcome to join us. If you can still jump on, I'll get you the link, man. We'd love to have you on. But Kellen, we'll turn it over to you.
Oh, hi, I'm Kellen.
Yes.
What is it that you want? What is it that you actually want to know? Because
You know what?
so often people launch into this long blather of whatever, and I'm not sure what would be valuable for your people to know. So what is that? And
I
then
think there would be some blather that would be useful, but tell us who you are, where you are in the world, and what you're striving to accomplish.
I'm Kellen Flukiger. I live in Edmonton, Alberta at this point. I was born in San Francisco. My wife and I are dual national. I spent 30 years as a high-level executive in the energy industry in the United States and Canada, C-suite positions and all the money and perks that go with all that. At the same time, for those 30 years behind the scenes, I was struggling with depression. I was married and divorced 3 times. And when I finally left the business in August of 2007, after blowing up several career trips, I was clear at the very top of the game. I was making enough money that my $3,000 a week cocaine habit didn't matter. I walked away in August of 2007 from the industry, started life over, and joined the dogs who are barking.
I'm trying to find the mute button. I was like, who let the dog? I got scared. I was like, Ryan, watch your back.
Is that my dog or is that somebody else's dog?
I thought it was
Let the dogs out.
Anyway, I started life over again in September of 2007. Since then, I've written 19 books. I have 5 more on the drawing board over the next year. Now, today, I have created several methods, but the point is to help people say yes to those things that they feel inside and stop pretending or being afraid of that opportunity that they really have. And so that's me in a nutshell. One of the nutshells anyway.
That was a little bit more of a nutshell. It was a coconut shell. It was perfect, Bill.
Okay.
It was
perfect. A cocaine nutshell. I'm like, Nick, don't do it.
That was a cocaine shell.
I was like, no, don't.
No, that
I feel
was
like you're
perfect,
going to throw yellow cards or red cards our way too during this discussion. Yeah.
Well, the beauty of it is
soccer is going on, right? Yeah.
You definitely have the background for this topic, so this is perfect. Alex Dumas.
God, I don't know if I follow that. Hi, I'm Alex.
Wait, let me cue the dogs. Hold on.
Yeah, hold on.
Oh, man, it's so good to be back with y'all. It's been a minute. Oh, where do I start? Okay, I am executive coach, life coach out of North Carolina, originally from this planet called New York. Happily married to my powerhouse spouse, Sarah, and our 2 wonderful kids. Got plenty of dogs. Hopefully you don't hear them bark. And I co-lead a organization that is filled with coaches of color, of different ethnicities and races and spaces across the world. And we're here to make an impact and expand our voice in this coaching profession. And fun fact about me is I love brisket. If you follow me on the socials,
Brissy.
And my children are crying and screaming as they're fighting right now, so you'll hear some of that in the background too. And what's up, Slinger? Arm Slinger. Yeah. That's Julie, the arm slinger.
Yeah, Julie. You know what's funny is there was a post I posted about a concert, and I said I could see why people love concerts, but I put white people, and Alex is like, black people love concerts too.
Supposed to be like wow or
I'm like,
something like that.
I'm like, that was a weird comment. So I went and changed mine, so now yours looks weird, right? Yeah, we got Bill. Thanks, Bill. Glad you could come, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ryan Morris.
I'll go quick, and then I'm gonna move my. I like being down like in the bottom corner. I feel like Hollywood Squares here. Ryan Morris from Salt Lake City, Utah. I love to hang out with all of these yahoos on this panel tonight. They're all amazing men, great leaders in the world. I'm with the Giants, thegiantsandthesmalls.com. We teach people to see their giant potential and lead them through an 8-week program called the 12 Journeys. And I get to do it with my man, Nick Smith, who is the co-creator of the Tribe of Giants, Wake Up with Giants TV, and the 12 Journeys, and the author of The Giants and the Smalls.
Man, you're making me sound good, dude. Thank you.
That's what I'm here for. And I can't wait to eat brisket with Alex, play soccer with Kellen, and travel to South Africa and time travel with Adrian.
Right.
And
John Absey. Tell us about John Absey.
How y'all doing? Sorry, hope you're all doing great tonight. Bill, I emailed you and I said, hey.
Well, we all know how well you communicate, John, so your email probably doesn't know
I give you that. I'm John Absey. I was the Utah Jazz player for 25 years, and that's about all I got. I'm not as educated as everybody else. I was a mime for 25 years and a clown, and there you have it.
But the best one ever.
He sells himself short. The very best NBA mascot of all time. I 100% guarantee it. As a kid, from the time I was 7 or 8 years old, I absolutely admired and just marveled at the Jazz Bear. Had season tickets my entire life, and that was the favorite part. That was my kid's favorite part, and it was all John Absey who created that entire thing and left a legacy there that will never be filled, ever.
God bless you. Checks in the mail.
Thank you, brother.
Awesome. Adrian Meyer.
Good morning from South Africa.
He lives in the future.
I just woke up. Yes, my mission on this earth is to do whatever needs to be done to expand the human consciousness and to help people become find the real who they really are, and to live like that. And in the last year or so, actually 3 years now, the whole thing has morphed into from coaching to counseling to teaching, whatever. So I do whatever it needs to be done to help the humanity to become more of who they are.
That's perfect. And we got Bill Schuffenhauer. Tell us about you and where you are in the world.
Yeah, so name's Bill Schuffenhauer, and I am in Midvale, Utah. Former retired 3-time Olympic silver medalist with Team USA. Currently in my neck. Are we talking about what we do now too, or are we coming back to that?
You can do that. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Dive into it.
So currently, this is such a great topic. We talked about this a while ago because it's something that I went through quite a bit, but I've now been able to really align everything in my life and create a life by design that I want. And so now, outside of my sports, I'm a managing partner in 6 global companies, 3 in the technology space, 2 in the corporate consulting, corporate retreat space. I currently, honestly, coaching is realistically kind of one of my side gigs, but I enjoy doing it. But I have a handful of clients that are in the top 10 of the Fortune 100 and a handful in the Fortune 500, and that includes individual clients and organizations. And I'm just doing what everyone else is doing, utilizing my past experiences to create a world that I prefer to live in.
Rides a cool bike, right? He does have a beautiful
bike. He does have a beautiful
bike. It is.
And his stage name is Bill. His real name is Billy.
That's right. That's right.
Friends call him Billy. I was like, who's Bill?
Actually, we got a new name for Bill. It's called Batista.
Yeah,
Batista. Yeah, he's got that look, huh?
Yeah, and don't forget, if you haven't RSVP'd for the wedding, every single one of you on here.
Yeah, Billy is getting married August 25th. Be there.
We'll be there. We'll be there.
It'll be a party, black and white theme.
I can't be square because.
But Kellen's ready. Kellen came prepared.
Nice. Dude, I was like, Kellen's on point. Let's just get it going right now.
I do.
let's dive in, guys. So we got a great topic tonight. We're going to talk about post-success depression. I know each of you has experienced that in your own way. And the first thing we're going to start with is a definition of that, of what in the world are you talking about, post-success depression? Like, who wants to take a stab at that as far as what that means? An operational definition we can all use. And there might be multiples. Anybody want to take that on? Yeah, John?
I'm going to throw it out there, and you guys can tell me if I'm right or wrong. I look at post-success depression as being like at the top of your game, having success in what you did in the past. It comes to a culmination, and you either retire or you're done, or whatever happens. But then you go into this lull, kind of, sort of like where you've put everything into what you did in the past, and you feel like that defines you. And then when you're done, trying to find out like who you are again is what's the hard part, and where you end up sometimes tripping up and going into a depression.
Yeah, perfect. Other definitions, Billy? Do you want to go by Billy or Bill? Like, now I'm confused.
Billy, you guys know me well enough. Billy, hey you, hey whatever else you want to call me. I answer to it all. John's right in alignment. Obviously, each one of us is going to have a little bit, maybe a different definition. But that post-success depression, anxiety, mental health issues is kind of like John explained too, right? You commit to something your entire life, or for a very short, powerful period of time, where over that time period you've kind of identified yourself as this or that, or it's one of those things, you wake up every day, you're so used to doing it, it's almost natural. Yeah. And if you don't plan for what's next, that's typically where a lot of people run into that issue of the post-success depression, anxiety, suicidal tendencies, and so on. Obviously, part of the reason I'm on here, because I went through it significantly, and I don't ever try to hide what that is. But, when you go from being at the top of your game, whatever that may be for that individual, and then all that stuff comes to a halt, you're kind of left with, oh, shiz, what's next? What do I do now?
Right.
I'm so used to doing this. And, for me, I'm very transparent with all you guys too. I try to replace that feeling of White House visits, like Kellen said, dropping thousands of dollars anytime I could, because I could, doing whatever it is I wanted to do, traveling the world, doing all the biggest parties in the world, winning Olympic medals, winning world championship medals, winning national championship medals. And when that all came to a hold and a stop, for me, that's like where my situation kicked in, is I didn't know how to replace that. I didn't have the tools, resources, or know-how to actually make that transition in life. And we see a lot with, athletes, executives, military personnel, former mascots that, like, I can't even imagine like how hard it was, or maybe even is, for John. I don't know where he wants to go with this, but to almost every night of the year entertaining 20,000 people that love you to death, and then you go from that to not having that anymore, right? And so, again, for my situation, I did have the tools. I did actually have the know-how, but I tried to recreate the wheel, because I thought in this new life I had to reinvent myself and still have that Showtime highlight in my life, just not in sports, right? And yeah. it led me down a lot of really, really bad paths of 8.5 years, almost 9 years.
Yeah, wow. What do you guys think is the root cause of this? Why do people go through this?
I'm going to say a lack of preparation.
Okay.
I like what you said, Billy. It's like you make your identity a certain thing. And you talked about the lack of planning. You're hoping and living your life like it becomes automated and becomes easier and easier. And that's the thing that you do, and then becomes the things that you are. And you have this huge identity to it. And sometimes not foreseeing that this could just all be gone tomorrow. Yeah. Having that foresight, right? And planning, like, okay, is this all that I am? And attaching your entire identity to it. And
Yeah.
I did that in business, and my business collapsed, and look back and go, okay, now who am I really?
Right. Well,
And
and
I had to pick back up all the pieces, and it's like, oh,
right. And I don't know about you guys, but like I was just told my whole life, if you achieve Olympic success, all the doors will open for you. You'll never have to worry about anything again, which was true. But nobody said, oh, by the way, prepare for the unknowns, which is the afterlife of sport, right?
Right. The afterlife. That's a great statement right there. It's almost like the afterlife depression that comes up. Adrian, I saw your hand, and then we'll go to Kellen, if that works.
Yeah.
Yep.
My context is a bit different. To come from the difference between mission-led and just driving goals. So the idea that I've been working with, and some of the people I've been working with now, is to change the thing from just chasing the one goal after the other to go on the mission, because it's like business goals. If they reach the budget, or they make the business, then it's okay, so what now kind of thing. And that can be very depressing if there's nothing forward. So the idea is to then help to understand this idea of, if you are mission-led, then it's like a river. You're just going down the river, and the goals come along the side, the achievement, the success. But there's always something more, and that something more is much bigger than you are.
Right.
So then you always have something to go for without having to suffer the depression. Okay, we've made this major success now, and now what? There's always the next one. So it doesn't. The whole process doesn't stop. And I've seen that this kind of that approach works quite well. Where people can, okay, fine. We're going there. It's way bigger than us. We never get there, but this is our path. This is our part of the path.
It reminds me of the word purpose. And Kellen, I'm going to come to you on this, but the word purpose means a place of rest. So it's like a rest stop. And if you're purpose driven, then you're going to have myriad purposes. You're not ever done. But if you're goal driven and I could see how that you get there and that's your goal, and you don't have anything beyond that, it doesn't become a rest stop. It becomes a stopping point, right? So you get there and you're done. Kellen, did you have a take on this?
Yeah, I have some completely different, and it has nothing to do with having done something for a long time and then having it taken away. Like I did that. I walked away from a 30-year career of having, ultra high level, blah, blah, blah. But my struggle with depression over the decades, from 17 to 52, like 35 years before I started doing something with it, here's what I experienced. As I started I walked away from everything, and I did have to redefine myself, but I knew I was going to, because I left it all. My post-success depression was incremental. So when I had boatloads of addictions, but the ones that people always ask what was my drug of choice, and my drug of choice, I finally figured out, was self-loathing. I needed to hate myself.
100%.
And so the substances, it doesn't matter what kind of, drugs or habits or whatever, it didn't matter what it was, as long as it allowed me to hate myself. In other words, as long as it proved that I sucked as bad as I thought. So how it showed up for me, and when I read the title, what I thought was when I first started creating success, after leaving the other thing and starting on a new journey, write the first book, create some clients and do that. The story of I don't deserve this, which I've seen from you guys, the story of I don't deserve this, I shouldn't be here, sort of the upper limit thing, would cause me to engage in either behaviors or withdrawal or things that would signify a return to that self-loathing thing. I don't deserve this, so I'm going to wreck it. I trashed some sales that I made and, different things that happened. And so I would have a sometimes very substantial success, create a, big client, a lot of money, blah, 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 and then would do something to either damage it or damage something else. Or, I couldn't just be that. It couldn't just be okay. I had to throw a turd in the punch bowl. And so the post-success depression for me was the act.
Was that you? I always wondered who that was.
Where's your yellow card? Will you yellow card him, please?
Yeah.
Was the inclination and act of almost without being able to stop it, trashing stuff after I'd had some success.
Yeah, that's really interesting. My that self-loathing, that feeling undeserving, to me has me wonder around societal expectations, right? That if anxiety comes from us measuring ourselves against the ideals we think that others have, well, society seems to have some pretty big ideals when it comes to success and constant creation, right? And so there could be a version of we think we need to be something and we measure up to it and we accomplish it, but then there's still that societal or perceived societal expectation. What do you guys think about that? What role does society play in post-success depression?
Alex.
Alex,
Yeah, I mean, for majority of us, we're here in this beautiful country, but we are a country of stuff. More stuff. We're more whores. How much more? Is it enough? Right? Think of the Kobe commercial, right? More.
Did you just say we're more whores?
More whores. Yeah. I mean,
consumers.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Like Kellen said, right? I need more self-loathing. I'm not good enough, man.
Never
let me find the next thing. You've heard me talk about Someday Island and Now Island. A lot of people, at least for a lot of my life, was on Someday Island. Man, when I get this, someday when I have this, life is going to be good. Man, when I finally get this weight, when I finally find this, when I hit this number, and I look over, I'm like, damn, Nick's got that number. I need a number now because like it's not special anymore. It's not. It doesn't. It's lost its value because
it was number 18, right? Number 18.
Right. Yeah. Number 18. Now I got to get number 19 because.
Right.
I'll show you, Nick. I'll show you, Ryan. And then all of a sudden, you guys get 20. Damn it! It's never gonna be good enough. Instead of what's happening right now, it's so cliche, but it's the truth, right? The process of it, the journey of it, the suffering in the moment of it. That's what brings it the value. Versus, all right, I got it. Now what?
Yeah.
Damn it! Got to do it again, and it sucks.
Yeah, well, there is that pressure to do it again, right? Like Billy, you were saying that, right? You go through and you get a silver medal in the Olympics, and then the Olympics are over, and there's this inward or internal expectation to do it again in some other form, right? To match
people telling you.
How many people were like, "Oh, you got silver? That's nice. Good for you."
Yeah,
it's not gold.
Hardly anybody in the world is going to get a silver medal competing at an elite level. Like Billy, and then they value the silver.
But
yeah, no, and the interesting part too, right, is if we go back to like the beginning of part of this dream, my college coach always told me any fool can do it once. So while that was good, I always had the expectation of whatever I did at a high level and did it really, really well, I had to go and prove and do it multiple times. So the reality is, like, my family after the 2002 Olympics, when I, won the first Olympic medal for Team USA, 46 years, won a silver medal, blah, blah, blah. They were all like, you finally done it. You're done. And I was like, nope, I got to do another one. And it becomes kind of like an addiction. Right. And that was the problem for me is like when I did retire, like, believe me, I still had the uber confidence of everywhere I went. I was like, thought I was the man, funny enough, looking back, but that mindset no longer served me, but I didn't know how to shut it off. And even up until recently, John knows about this too. Like when I go to the gym, I don't know how to shut off the mindset of like not throwing on 600 pounds on the squat and doing ridiculous weight. When I don't,
it's so hard for me when I go in there too. They're like, "Whoa, calm down."
Easy, I'm like at 599 right now. Like,
but I get injured every time. Like John knows that too. And
you know something though that I think is interesting though is like, and I don't know anybody else's story, but I do know Bill's, and I kind of feel like Bill and I went through. There's like two different types of depression, and one was when we would compete, like when I was in the finals, And the 2 years that we were in, Bill, when he was in the Olympics and he competed, it's the end that Bill, did you go through that depression after the games, just like after the finals? You're at this, just energy level and adrenaline 24/7, and you're so excited for these games and for the finals. And then when it's over, there's nothing. There's not like a pat on the back or anything. It's just over. And you're flying home and you're just like, there was this big high and now there's nothing. And there's that depression. And then there was the other depression where when you finished your Olympic career and I finished my mascotting career, a whole different type of depression. And I always felt like, okay, I know what this depression is about and I'll be ready next time. And the next year we went to the finals and it hit me just as hard. And it's bizarre, like the two different levels. And I think everybody has a different way of what their depression is after each of their careers or something.
Is there an expectation versus the reality? So you have an expectation of what success is going to look like, right? And then you hit the reality of success. And depression generally is really looking at your reality as it is. So instead of having this delusion, they say that people are happiest when they're deluded. We see reality and we get depressed about it because we see it actually as it is, and we start to ruminate, reflect on it. But you have this ideal going into it. Oh, when I'm successful, it's going to look like this, and then you get smacked with that. How much does that play in? Like, what does that do to you when you step into that reality? Does that tie into what you're talking about, John?
Sort of. I mean, I guess, like for me, and I'm, like I said before, it's different for everybody. Like my idea of success, and I've said this before, I thought I was doing it, for the family and for me. And then the reality was, how to explain this? I was really selfish. I wanted it for me, and I wanted to build this character more and more and more. But I wish I would have been more successful for the family in a sense, I wish I would have thought about it that way.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm on topic on that.
You're doing great. You're doing great. I think it still applies. Yeah, for sure. Like you have these ideals of what you think you're doing it for, and they're internal. It really is, right? Billy, you have some thoughts on that?
No, I was just gonna add to that too. I got caught up in the world of living to everyone else's expectations, and I really kind of let go of my own expectations. And honestly, with me going through all that, it all had to happen for a reason. I survived a lot of chaos, suicide, everything else. But it really helped me prepare for how I'm taking steps in life now, right? It's not based off what anyone else thinks or what anything else does. I honestly don't care what anybody thinks what I'm doing in life, but because I have that mindset of not worrying about everyone else, I've been able to create significantly more success in this life than I did back then, right? But I'm also prepared for what's next. I've told you guys, I've told John, we fully have it within in our model for our family that we're going to retire 100% in the next year and a half, 2 years. But I know what's next. I already have a game plan for what's next, right? And if that doesn't work out, then I have what else is next and what else is next, right? So,
yeah, they become pit stops or stops along the way, right?
Yeah.
Rather than full destinations. What about, John, you hit on this, and then Adrian, I'll pull you back here. If this doesn't apply, go with what you've got. But you talked about the temporary highs. So you go into the initial euphoria of the success, and then that emptiness, right? That drop and disillusionment with what you thought was going to be. Adrian, does yours tie into that, or do you have something even?
Yeah, I think it might be a bit different, but we have such a situation where I'm talking about here where I live. Success is predefined. You can only be successful if you do this, that, and the next thing. If you don't do anything like that, then you're not successful. You can't be successful. So then you go and you put your whole life and you pump your whole life into those definitions, and you reach those definitions. And then after you've reached them, it's like, oh no, this is not what I want. This is not who I am. Because we we neglect, and we've pushed away as humanity. We've pushed away the idea of using your gifts, your talents, and your skills that you have naturally to create your own life and your own definition of success. Just like a guy who can really play guitar well, he goes in and plays into a band, but it's not a big band. It's not like Bon Jovi. It's a smaller band, but he's happy. He's happy. It's successful for him. So then there's like this, even if he's very good at that, there's always that element of depression that comes in. You're not as good as those people. And that's the problem, the comparison problem. Okay, the success is out there. You have to chase it. That's the one thing. The other thing is we're not supposed to be successful, because if we are, then we are breaking the mold, because the mold is only this big. You get outside the mold, bad day. That's a society. Yeah. Anyway.
Man, I kind of want you to dive a little deeper on that. What do you mean we're not supposed to be successful?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. If you have the typical Protestant upbringing, then success means that you stand out. You're not supposed to stand out. You're supposed to be the least. You're supposed to be a part of the game. The saying that comes to my mind is tall trees catch the wind, and you're not supposed to catch the wind. You're supposed to blend in.
You don't stand out, right?
You don't stand out. If you stand out, then that's going to be bad. The thing is, if you are successful, you're going to stand out. And thank goodness that model is being broken, with newer generations. And I see that coming about now, where the newer generations, I don't care what you think of me. It is still a problem that people, I care very much what people think of me. That is still a problem in society.
Okay.
And so we blend in. We don't want to stand out. You stand out, then you're going to get that depression from the thing that says, okay, you stood out, so here's a slap or two, or people will criticize you, for doing that. I don't know if this makes sense, but
yeah, it does. Kellen, you got some additional thoughts there? Yeah.
Well, we've had lots of conversation about what each of us have experienced and the problem per se. And I experienced many of the things what I said, plus much of what I've heard. But I guess the thing that's fun for me is two things. One is there is a cure for what I call the Witot fungus. It's spelled W-I-T-O-T. And as a funny thing, when COVID happened, we talked about mortality rates. And remember, in the beginning, everybody was watching graphs and all that crap. And I used to say, well, the Witot fungus kills more people than COVID ever will. And Witot, W-I-T-O-T, is an acronym, and it stands for what I think others think. And so the answer is to end that disease, and that's where I have gone to. So we know that caring too much, or any at all really, about what someone else thinks of what you're doing with your life doesn't help. You can't control what they say, think, or do. So if we're talking about it exists, this post-success depression, stop caring about what other people think, because it's an imaginary thing you can't fix anyway, and the pursuit of that goal is an unending and impossible task. The second piece is stop needing things. It's funny because when I talk to people, and I meet lots of people every week, they'll ask me different questions, and I'll just stop them. I'll say, look, I don't need anything. And I start from this place. I don't need anything. Yeah, I need to breathe or I'll die. And I need to eat occasionally. And it's nice to have a roof. But I actually don't need anything. And so the disease is this external sort of set of circumstances. And what I just want to make a big noise about is you don't have to live there. Wherever you've been is fine. You can move to a new town, planet. Alex's, different planets and so forth. You can go to another place. Your now can be needless And it can be free of the concern of others and what they think and what they're wondering and how they're judging and all of the rest of the nonsense. So I acknowledge all of the things and as correct that have been said, but I just want to raise the flag of, hey, there is another place.
Yeah. As I hear that, the construct of depression, the idea of depression is us measuring ourselves in some form. So when you talk about Whittot and we look at anxiety as a measurement of how you think you're measuring up with the ideals you think society has for you, and then depression being your own ideals about yourself, it would be a construct, and it would all come from who you think you are, right? John, did you have a comment around that?
So listen to what everybody's saying. I'm just throwing this out as a question to you guys. So wouldn't it be better then to be just good and kind of level instead of successful? Does that make sense? Would that help or not? I'm
gonna dive into that right quick. I just love you for asking, and here's why. It doesn't matter. Like your measurement of you, if everybody was given a poker face and you couldn't tell what anybody thought, and you looked at what you chose to have for your life, including, like, we all have three things. We have skills we've developed. That's the stuff we normally been selling in the marketplace. We have a set of natural gifts that we brought with us, and then we have our life experience. And I think of that rope as kind of the triple helix, like a DNA that winds together to make your very best self. But you get to decide what that is. You can go on a search for your natural gifts joyfully and easily. You can learn whatever it is you want to learn. And if you stop needing things, meaning especially externalities, you can decide which ladder you want to climb or not, and decide that is who you want to be. And I saw the comment, more successful, more responsibility. True, if and only if you're worried about who's watching.
Right.
And so you get to, if you want to live with the easy and obvious, then my invitation is to go ahead and do that. But if inside your heart, from your yearnings, not because they're the flags and the yellow cards and somebody else's fungus, if you say, I really wonder what would happen if I did this, well, then go see. And if it works or doesn't work, it's just an experiment.
Yeah.
And it isn't good or bad or right or wrong. It's, did it work, not work? Did it do what you wanted or not? And what will I do with that piece of information? And the problem, both depression, anxiety, and the whole thing, comes from the drama we assign to the outcome of different things, not the things themselves.
I got one thing to say.
Yep.
That's great. But sometimes you don't have that choice. Ask Bill. Think about it. Bill had a choice, but it kind of guided him and it followed him. Like, his success was happening as he was going on. He didn't realize he was going to be that good at, football and then bobsled and be that fast and that strong. And it just starts pulling you that way. I was a stupid little farm boy from Minnesota. I never thought I would ever be in Utah being a mascot, but sometimes it finds you and it pulls you whether you want it or not. Am I right, Bill? Yay, nay?
Yeah. I agree with both of you, obviously, to a degree. We can even take a look at my life right now. I would have never guessed in a million years that I would be an executive of 3 technology companies. Not in a million years. And I would never guess that in the next 2 years, I'll sell all 3 technology companies for excess of billions of dollars. Never in a million years, right? But it's the choice that I make with that stuff now based off of my experiences from the past on what I can dictate what happens for the future. I do a lot of coaching with Jack Canfield, and one of the things that he taught me was like E plus R equals O. So we take an event plus our response or an action or response or reaction. So whatever one we choose will dictate the outcome. And typically the response is going to dictate the outcome how you want it. But if we're reacting, which in the past I was very reactive to a lot of stuff that happened in life, and nothing really worked out the way I wanted it to, right? A lot of good things did, don't get me wrong. But now that I've learned how to take accountability for everything that I've got going on in my life. And, you know, I really resonated a lot with, like what Kellen said. I was about to bring up the whole idea with my wedding that's coming up, right? Like, you guys would freak out if you knew how many people were like, well, your wedding is supposed to be like this and you're supposed to do this. And literally it was the hardest time with one of our photographers, because he was like, I've done 500 weddings and you're going to want to have this shot and that shot. And I said, listen, I really appreciate your experience in your wedding photography, but this is going to be the first wedding that you're dealing with a couple that has absolutely zero attachment on what it's supposed to look like. The only thing that I give a shit about is that I show up and my fiance shows up and we get married, and hopefully we have a couple of friends that want to come celebrate it with us. He's like, nope, well, you got to do this and we've got to get this shot and you got to get that shot. And I'm like, I don't want any of those shots, right? And it blows him away, because I'm just like, no, I've been through this. Not my first rodeo, right? Been through this before, and I just don't want to have all the like chaos that comes along with a traditional wedding, right? So
yeah,
I don't know if I answered you, John, but
so there's that element of it pulling you into it. But in either case, the outcome is what we're looking at is after the success, whether you were pulled into it or you created it, there's still a mindset that goes on in there. And I don't think people prepare enough for the achievement, the accomplishment. And so how important is it to set up a structure or you would almost call it a support system for yourself for when you're about to achieve success? How important would that be?
I mean, I'll jump in really quick, and I think it's very important. I have a quote. I'm full of quotes. I created my own, but that you plan your race your plan, but you also have to be prepared for the unknowns, because the unknowns are the things that will derail you in life, right? Even though we don't know them now, it's an unknown, right? So the more you can set up your architecture of support system, but you also got to be willing enough to be vulnerable to listen to them sometimes too, right? There's a lot of us out there. It's like, think we know how to figure it out. We got it all figured out, and then we're beating our head up against the wall. So sorry, I'll keep on going.
That's great. That's great.
I think it's really important.
You're talking about this preventive, almost a preventive medicine in a way for your success. You're preparing yourself for it. So you're setting up systems in advance to be ready for that. Is that accurate?
Yeah, if you're asking me, yeah. I mean, you think about it, most people, when you think about achieving, success as the bear, whatever that is, what's the pinnacle of that? What's the success of having a business? Are you going to sell it out? Is that the pinnacle? But, or whatever that may be, we never really think a whole lot of like, okay, what happens after the championship, right?
Right.
Oh, I'm going to go on a cruise. I'm going to do this. But like, what are you really going to do with the rest of your life?
Right. We talk about the success. I know what I'm going to do when I get there. It's like the old, baseball games. They'd win the championship and they'd all say, I'm going to Disneyland.
Right.
But what about after Disneyland?
Yeah.
That part. Alex, I'd love to hear some thoughts from you on this too. Like what are you hearing as you listen to this?
Yeah, what I'm hearing, what's coming up for me is last year, the ultimate experience in Arizona, right? The first one that was there, and I wouldn't say it was necessarily depression, but I think Amanda posted it earlier, like the event drop, right? Because what we created in the amount of like 70 something days, for that to happen, and then it was like, oh man. Now what, right? It's just this complete crash, and I've kind of dropped off of Facebook for like a little bit, because I'm like, I don't want to hear about being, and it's not a knocking. Oddly enough, this is Steve Hardison's birthday, so happy birthday, Stevie. Salt and pepper all day, but you know what I mean. It was like, yes, we reached this top, this apex, right, and then I forgot about like this valley, like what comes up has to come down. This floor is now the new ceiling or whatever, and like, okay, what do I do now? Where's I MC spoke on this. Where's all the deals? Where's the movie deal? I mean, that's not what I was literally thinking, but you know what I mean? Like, where's the praise? Where's the flowers? Go to Disneyland. I want to stay in Disneyland. Like, no, the park closes eventually. You have to go home at some point. You can't stay.
Or the dragon catches on fire, right? One of those.
Right. Yeah, so it's a real thing, and I think to Bill's point, right, who do you have in your circle, in your network, in your orbit that's maybe a little bit ahead that can kind of see like, oh, hey, buddy, this is coming. All right, let's talk about like the strategy, the game plan for what life is gonna be like after you reach this place, and really come from this place of conscious creation. And as a kid, I would hit these success depressions all the time because my role is the class clown. That was my identity. I had to get the next high, get the next laugh, dopamine, come on, hook it up. I need that laugh. Like Monsters Inc. Like those scream meter. I need the laugh meter. Like, and if I didn't get it, I'm thinking about, man, was I that funny? She wasn't laughing. She doesn't like me, and I'm running this game film in my head, and like that's not reality. I'm playing this funny game with myself, and none of it's real. And is that echo in the background?
Echo.
Yeah, there's a good echo there. I mean, it needed to be said twice, so yeah, the echo, right?
And although, even if you prepare for it,
yep.
Honestly, I don't think you can prepare for it. You can you can prepare for it, yes. But is it going to actually, it might lessen it, but it's never going to stop it. There's no way that you're going to be able to step away and just be like, oh, I'm good with it. I don't care how you prepare, you will never be able to do that. You're going to have some sort of a drop of a certain type of depression. But I guarantee, and I'm just saying it, I mean, because I talked about it, and Bill admitted. I mean, I don't think there's any way that you could fully prepare to come down off of something like that.
So to a degree, I'm going to somewhat agree with you, John. But I also know where you're at, and I know where I'm at, and they're very, very different places as far as dealing with what we've dealt with in the past, right, and overcoming that. So can you ever prepare perfectly for everything? Absolutely not, right? Again, another quote, practice makes perfect, but you don't need to be perfect to win, right? So although we can't prepare for it perfectly, we can prepare for it so that we don't have such a significant drop, right? Yeah. Of course, there's going to be some feelings of like, oh man, that's over with now, right? It happens with everyone, but it's, have you set yourself up the right way for those next steps or that transition, and a lot of people, funny enough, as we're talking about the people in our architecture or in our groups or having that support system, and I'm going to be super transparent here, Nick, after I woke up in the hospital for my suicide attempt in 2016, everybody I talked to for the next 2 years thought, oh my gosh, I thought you were just fine on the surface. You looked like fine and you looked happy. Well, I wasn't, obviously, right? I was struggling, and I was like Kellen mentioned, I was blowing $400 to $700 a day on drinking and drugs and partying, and still trying to live this life of, oh yeah, I'm still the Olympian, I'm still the champion, and blah blah blah, right? So part of having that support system is also, and I'm saying it with us 6, 7, 8 guys on here, is like we also have to learn how to be vulnerable to allow those people in to come and support us as well.
Right. Yeah, Kellen?
I was just going to play from what John and what you just said. Thank you. Dragging me along in the 30 years was happening exactly as you described for me, because I was chasing the goal of external approval. I didn't feel like I had any levers I wasn't aware. I didn't reach out for help, and I didn't do things. I had a couple of suicide attempts as well, so I understand that, like you did. What I was trying to say is, as you get this more experience, then you learn that you have the levers and some of the levers are external support, some of it's vulnerability. When I first went to a shrink after I left the whole 30-year thing, I'm sure the first half a dozen that I saw thought I was nuts because I was so used to being in control. I would go in there and tell them everything that was wrong, and then I would psychoanalyze myself and fix it all. And they didn't say anything. I didn't even know how to tell the truth to the counselor. I was a pathological liar. I lied just because I wanted to control everything around me. And I happened to be blessed with a ridiculous memory, so I never got caught, so to speak. But it didn't serve me. And what I was talking about is, as you experience the things that each of you have experienced in different ways, what we learn is we do have levers, other people, support systems, and whether or not we prepare perfectly for some future success that will feel a little bit sad when it's over doesn't even matter, because we know that there are levers that we now have because we've experienced them. So even if I do feel like shit because this happened and now it's no longer happening, wow, am I ever going to be able to do it again? Or do I now suck forever because it's over, or whatever version of that is? It's like, you know what, I've been here before. And what I did before was this and this and this. And what would be the current version of that? Who can I talk to? What can I create as a new goal? For me, it's writing another book. So I have 5 ready to go so that when I get done, I know what I'm going to do for the next 2 years. I have 5 ready to go. Why? Do I need to? No, of course not. It's fun and I enjoy it. And so I totally agree. You're never perfectly prepared because nobody's perfect, but you do have a bigger and bigger toolkit that you assemble because of the battles that you've been through in your life. And that if you let it, and that goes to the response and reaction thing, if you let it, you become more prepared, more able to deal with the crap that falls on you.
I like it. I like it. So what are the next steps? Adrian, first, we'll go to you, and then we'll go to next steps. So if somebody finds out that they're going to go into this, what next?
You know, sometimes we must differentiate between existential depression after, you know, you put all your life into this, and then after this, then, you know, there's nothing, kind of. Or just physiological, when you put your whole life, excuse me, you put your entire life, all your being, you put into achieving a goal, and then you do that. So after that's physiological. It's like, you know, like adrenaline and all that stuff, you know, it needs to go away. And then we experience like a kind of depression. If you listen to anything that Huberman talks about, that's a lot of the things that people have, this post-event depression kind of thing. But the existential one is where you chase a goal, or you chase a life, or you chase something, you get it, and then, so what now? You know, that's the kind of, that's a differentiation of the thing. I think for us is to determine our life, our level of life. What kind of level of life do we want? If we want it small, it's fine. You know, be successful at that and keep it. You know, for you it's successful, for me it's successful, but my level of life is, you know, in a higher level of consciousness. That's where I want to go. So if I not strive, but if I build it to that, then success at that level is different from what it will be for Bill, what it will be for Kellen, whatever it will be for anybody else, you know. So then you begin to self-actualize. Okay, this is success for me. I'm happy. It's cool.
So does that open up to a new definition of success?
I think so.
Yeah, the only definition of success that matters.
Okay.
Quite frankly, the only one that matters, because the rest of it's short, it's temporary, and it will create all the things we've talked about. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how many people salute or bow or whatever it is when you walk by. All of that is an externality. If you want to have success that creates happiness, it comes from inside.
Amen.
All the time, every time, no matter what. End of story.
Yep.
Perfect.
And that's what I think.
So
And recognizing that, right, is like I think that earlier that I think up here it said, you know, with emotional intelligence, I believe this is where emotional intelligence comes from, or comes into play. That's learning from the experience and the process of through the failures. We all fail. In fact, are probably more of a sum total of a failure than I am a success, but everybody looks at me like I'm successful. Well, what I did is I learned from the failures, adjusted, adapted, grew, went through the mud, that's where the growth is actually usually in that bottom part of the mud where it's really stinky and really dark and really, really slimy. Those dark moments is where I've created the most growth for myself. And I over time was able to get rid of the witat, at least to a degree where I can start seeing it and killing the fungus as it starts to come in, because it still comes in every now and again. I take my pills and get a little bit of Kellen around me, and all of you boys here on this show, and you start to learn and grow, and you start to see that life doesn't happen to you, or it can in your mind. Life happens for me. And what do I learn from all of this? Where do I go from here? How can I adjust and adapt? And I realize that, like in saying all of that, that mental health comes into play. Depression is very, very real, and it can be one of the darkest, loneliest places on the planet. And there are tools and things that all of these guys know and can help you through. If you need help, any one of these guys would take you by the arm and lock arms with you and help you through those dark places and help you to start to see some hope and daylight as you start moving through that. But anyway, that was my.
That's perfect. Thank you. What advice would you give to somebody that's maybe approaching success, right? Their accomplishments, their achievements, somebody that's watching this show, what would you say to them? Maybe we'll go around the room and wrap up that way. Kellen, do you want to start us off? Like, what would you share with somebody that's watching this? Maybe go into that.
You know what I would share? The thing that helped me the most was working on loving myself. And I was so buried in needing external approval all of my life. I literally sacrificed, I won't even say that because it's going to sound awful. I sacrificed kids. I had 2 kids from my first marriage. I got married a second time, and my parents thought my divorce was so awful, they didn't want to acknowledge the first marriage of the kids, and so they forbade me to bring 2 kids that I had to their place and visit. I was not allowed to do all that. And so I was caught in a place of telling my parents to go screw themselves. And my new wife, she enjoyed what my parents were doing because she didn't like the fact that I'd been married before either. So I wandered into a situation where I made the choice to not disown them or anything, but just not to have any contact for a long time or very little. And that was a terrible, horrible decision that I felt dragged into, and I didn't have. So I had to, I have to deal with that and have had to do it. And the answer, I know you asked for a summary, and I'm giving a diatribe. Sorry.
Great. No, this is great.
I don't care what you've done or where you've been. Forgive yourself, love yourself, and let your light shine. Because the more crap you carry around, that's why the last book I published is one called Forgiveness, A Journey of Courage to a Place of Freedom and Power. If you don't love yourself and forgive yourself and everybody else of everything all the time, all you're doing is dimming your own light and doing and being less than you can be. And you're free to do that, but it's more fun when you don't. So love yourself, forgive yourself, and do the very best you can with the levers that you have access to. And as you do that, what I can promise you is more levers become visible. It's kind of like secret energy pills when you play those computer games and you find crystals that turn your suit back on or something or other. You can tell I'm a crappy gamer. I don't even know what I'm talking about. But there are such things, right? And I've seen them and so forth. So, love yourself. It is not serious. Life is meant to learn. It's meant to be hard. It's meant to bust your chops. So then enjoy it. It happens for you. Be busted. Find the levers. Get up and create something new just because you can. Amen. Hallelujah. And all that jazz.
That's perfect. Alex,
Praise
what would
the
you
Lord.
share?
Say it again.
What would you share? A piece of wisdom advice, for those that are watching, what would you share if they're approaching this?
Choose to love, serve, and care. That's the name of my daily podcast. And these are ingredients of my success cake, if you want to call it that. I choose to love people, love myself every day. I choose to be of service. I choose to care about what I'm doing and give it conscious attention and energy and time. That's going to help me not fall into this place of boy, when I get there, like, no, I'm already there. All I'm doing is just following the steps. God's already ordered it. He's already designed it for me. It's my birthright. Abundance is my birthright. I now have the opportunity to choose. For most of my life, I didn't think I had a choice. I had to be this way. This is how it is. Who am I to think any different? Choose. That's our greatest gift as humans. Just choose.
Perfect. Yeah, Ryan Morris. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd echo everything that everybody's said, and you know, I know these people very well, and some more than others, but I trust and know their hearts and who they are and who they're being in the world. So you can too. I promise you, these guys are good, honest, hardworking people with giant hearts that are out there doing this work. They're not just spouting off on some rando podcast, you know, live stream on Facebook and YouTube here. These guys are in the world doing this. They go through this. They've been through this, and they continue to show up. And they do. They make that choice. And Alex is on 1,004,000,002 on his podcast. What did you just go to, Alex, on your podcast?
Over 1,000, and episode 1,007 is coming up tomorrow.
See, that's a lot of days of showing up. That's a big commitment, and I know that each one of these people do that. They'll do it for you. You can do it for you. Choose, commit, and watch what happens. Little tiny steps create complexity over time, like we talk about. There's your fractal, Hugh. That's the Mandelbrot set right there, and you'll be surprised over time what happens.
Yeah, perfect.
And I love
John
you all.
Anthony. Thanks, man. John, and then Adrian and Billy, if you guys will close this out with some final thoughts here.
Honestly, I mean, I guess taking a little bit of what everybody said, I just feel like everybody had said all this, so I'm just spitting it out. I just look at it as, you know, like Kellen said, is we need to get over the fact that, you know, success really is what we feel other people's idea of success on us is. Then I would say that, you know, you'll never really achieve full success, because once you hit successful, you know, what you think is successful, then there's more, and then there's more, and there's more. And I think what people need to do is just be satisfied with good and be happy. I think being happy, you know, having relationships, and, you know, building a strong family and a strong core, to me, that's success. Not money, not things, because somebody else said it before. You know, having, you know, items or, you know, things in the world, that isn't successful. That's for you to show off, you know, to other people. But what's really important is family and you know, happiness. And, you know, like I said, Bill, you know, I've been trying to get a couple businesses going, and honest to God, everybody tells me it's like I could be doing really well in these businesses, but I keep diverting. And I said I will never give up charity work. I will do charity work, and if my businesses fail because of my charity work, I'm willing to do it, because that to me is what I'm about, and that defines me more than being a business owner.
Yeah, perfect. Adrian?
Well, this is very powerful stuff here. You know, we grow up in a system, and the system determines if you're successful. That system is now collapsing because the future of life is digital, spiritual, and social. And you can be whoever you want to be now. You know, us old folks, you know, we had to comply. We had to do life in a certain way because life was a silo. You only had the silo in which you grew up, and that was it. The silo is collapsed. Now you can decide to actually do and be whoever you want to be. And the main thing is to love being yourself, not love yourself, love being yourself with all your quirks, all your shitty bits, everything. Just love it. And just go out and do your thing. Connect to other people who are enjoying their shitty bits and just do your life. Because at the end of the day, you've got this one thing that you have to live, and you are making an impact by being who you are. And then the main thing is People don't care. People are busy with their own thing. And that is the most powerful statement you can ever have, is people don't care. And meaning that is you can basically do what you want.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Billy?
Well, first and foremost, have friends like you guys here, right? And that's the important part about like whatever you're going to do in life. It goes back to your circle. I wish I could do that. I can't do.
I know my heart's kind of awkward. How does Taylor Swift do it so nicely?
Right. But I know like the architecture of people that I've created in my space. Like I know that I could go to any one of you guys if I needed help with something, hands down, no question. Right. And I think people, it's really important for them to have that in their life. But when it comes to the end of the day, like I like to think about it like this, because we're 100% responsible for whatever happens to us in our own life. Right. And Alex said it right. I'm a huge believer that we were given this amazing gift of choice, and we can choose to live in the space that we want to. And, you know, when it comes down to it, when you scrape away everything that you have right now in your life, everything, the car, the house, friends, money, whatever, in your mind, when you stand up and look in the mirror at yourself and you tell yourself, what are the 5, maybe 10 things that I want in this life for me to feel happy and content? Not what you need, because that's completely different, right? But what are the things, because we need to eat, blah, blah, blah. But what are the things that you want in life that are going to help you feel content and fulfilled, and so you can move on? And I'm sure part of that is not you saying, oh, I need all these friends who talk smack about me or belittle me or any of that stuff, right? So when you look at your architecture of life in that transition, what does it look like tomorrow? What does it look like the next day? Who does it include? What are you doing, right? So just being very strategic, you know, you think about it, and all of you guys here have been really strategic about your success and what you've done. It's just do the same thing. We don't have to do anything any more special than what we did on what got us to our own success, how we defined it, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I could honestly say I probably do less right now than I did when I was trying to achieve Olympic success. And you know, I honestly could wipe away like all the things I'm working, because for the most part, I have everything that I want in my life, right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
So,
guys, thank you so much. I mean, we're at time now, and great topic, great responses. I feel like we nailed down what we're talking about when we're talking about post-success depression, how to manage it, what to do when it does come up, ways to prevent it if possible, and redefining what success is. You know, I think we all have our versions of what that looks like. And now tonight we have an opening, you know, in a way of new ways to look at it. And so appreciate you guys doing what you did tonight. For those that are watching, go make it a giant day. Go after your success. Prepare yourself that that when you get it, that you've got a plan to take care of yourself after, while you're transitioning into the new thing. So we appreciate you. Thank you for your comments. They make the show amazing. And we will see you in the next episode.